just watched the 6-part Cleotrapa story time on Ice Spice. So y'all don't have to. So Cleotrapa is also a rapper based out of New York. She is friends with Ice Spice. She's been friends with Ice Spice for the last 2 years. They're not childhood friends. And she went on tour with Ice Spice for the last 30 days. And now she's here to tell her story. And I watched the whole thing, so you don't have to. So they met 2 years ago before Ice Spice blew up. At the end of July, Ice Spice asked her, she called her up, was like, do you want to go on tour with me? And she was like, it's last minute. Like, no, I got shit to do. She was like, no, like, you don't got to pay for nothing. You don't got to worry about nothing. I want you to perform. She was like, okay, cool, I'll go. She did say she think it was weird because of the recent drama Ice Spice was in with her last friend, and she was like, "Is she just trying to do damage control?" Because there has been claims on Ice Spice that she there's been some claims. What's her name? Baby Storm, is that her name? Her friend exposed Ice Spice for saying everybody pretty much jealous of her. She leaked text messages, her talking about Nicki Minaj, all type of stuff. So there was word that Ice Spice is a little So she was like, why is she calling me? Like, I do think this is weird. But she was like, okay, I'm going to go. So she went ahead and made a flyer announcing, she made a post with a flyer and everything announcing that she's going to go into her Ice Spice. Ice Spice was tagged. She said Ice Spice never reposted it. On top of that, she was never on the bill. She did also mention that Ice Spice show, the ticket said the show started at 9 o'clock, but Cleopatra said she was performing at 7:30. So she was like, weird. Now Ice Spice did tell her, like, Cleopatra, you don't have to pay for anything, and she said, I quote, you gonna be with me. Basically, we're gonna be like this. We're gonna be at each other's hips, so you ain't gonna have to worry about nothing. So I guess she really assumed, like, okay, I'm gonna go on tour. I don't gotta worry about nothing. She did mention she wasn't allowed to bring any additional people unless she was going to pay for the transportation for them and their hotel. So she said she didn't bring anybody. Plus, it was kind of last minute. This first incident that she had an issue with happened in Philly. So Ice Spice told her to bring her bag with her to the venue. So when I got to the venue, Ice Spice had 10 bags. Ice Spice security brought all her 10 bags and Cleotrapa's bags into the venue for her, I guess, or she had the security go get her bag, whatever. But anyway, when it was time to leave, security left Cleotrapa's 2 bags sitting there, and she was like, okay, your security's not going to take my bags to the car, and she had to do it herself. Cleotrapa was pissed by that because she had to haul her bags back and forth from the venue to the car, and she was like, people was asking me to take pictures with them, and I just thought that was embarrassing that I had to take my own bags and nobody would take my bags. So that night, later on at the hotel room, she confronts Ice Spice about the situation. She says, why your security brought your bags but they didn't bring mine? And when I asked him, he said no. And she said at first Ice Spice was like, oh, she felt bad about it. But then after that, she was like, well, he's my security and he gets paid a flat rate. And that's my security. He works for me. And if he's doing more, then he's going to get paid more. So she was like, I pay him. How much does he get paid? Ice Spice was like, he gets paid a flat rate. So Cleotrapa thing was like, okay, if he gets paid a flat rate, he's going to do whatever you ask him to do because he's pretty much going to be paid for it regardless. But whatever. Basically, after that moment, after she had asked Ice Spice about, like, security not taking her bag, she said it's pretty much downhill from there. Ice Spice started treating her like shit. So they wasn't cool no more. From then on, they didn't accommodate her. She was getting dressed in bathrooms and little corners. She would sometimes get dressed in Ice Spice's room, but after that, Ice Spice wouldn't really mess with her like that. She was putting her out the room. She said she didn't really care. And then there was an incident where she was getting dressed in Ice Spice's room. She had a Telfar bag. It had all her stuff in it. It was a little bag on the side. She leaves the room. She comes back past the room. Her Telfar bag is sitting outside the room. And inside the bag had, of course, all her ID information, everything. She said she did notice that her card was charged $700 on a designer website a couple days later. She said she didn't even say nothing about that. She said she even let that slide. You better than me. It would have been up from there. She said she went ahead and got her money back, canceled transaction. Wasn't no big deal, I guess. Another incident happened where Ice Spice asked her to get her own room last minute because I guess her boo thing was now staying with her in the room. And instead of like pulling her to the side or asking her before, she was just like in the elevator in the hotel was like, oh, you're not gonna get your own room? And she was like, well, I guess I can. But she was like, these are 5-star hotels. So she was like, okay, I guess I can. But she ended up staying with Ice Spice hairdresser in her room for the remainder of the tour. Another incident is when the hairdresser was like, oh, we about to get some food. What do you want? And so she was like, oh, I want a chicken salad or whatever. Guess the hairdresser was getting one too. So then the hairdresser shows her a text message that said, Cleopatra is not a part of the budget. Bitch, you're not getting a chicken salad. So she was like, I can't get no chicken salad. She was like, all you have to do is tell my manager to pay for it or I'll pay for it. But they would not get her chicken salad. Ooh. Okay. And then I think she said in Chicago she ended up getting an assistant for just that one part of the tour, but they weren't able to accommodate the assistant because she wasn't allowed to stay on any of the tour buses. And I guess because she wasn't able or she wasn't going to pay for the hotel and the transportation for the assistant had to leave. So she had help for one leg of the tour, one city of the tour, and that was it. Another incident was between when they were traveling between Mexico and Texas. They were staying at, I guess, a hotel. There was no food. There was no Uber Eats. There was nothing there but one McDonald's. And her and the hairdresser had went to the room, and I guess they was asleep. She comes out the room. Her and the hairdresser is hungry. Come to find out, nobody's talking about any food. It's because they went to a steakhouse and ate and tried to keep it a secret from them. From her, the makeup artist, and the hairstylist. So they didn't eat. And wouldn't nobody take them to McDonald's or walk with them to McDonald's. So she was pissed about that. Another incident is when they told them to all get on the tour bus. Well, I guess the hairstylist and Cleotrapa to get on the tour bus. And they were sitting there from 9 to 2. And I guess she fell asleep. When she wakes up, they still in the same place. And according to her, it's because everybody said Ice Spice wasn't ready to leave yet. And she was pissed about that. She was like, okay, well, I could have went and did something else. I'm basically on this bus from 9 to 2, sleep, and didn't nobody tell me nothing. Which that one was kind of, okay, I guess nobody communicated with her that they weren't leaving at that moment. And that irritated her. She said the last leg of the tour, her mom had came to see her, and her mom wasn't allowed backstage. I read that on the screen. She had put that in there. Her mom wasn't allowed backstage. Now that's a bit much. In part 5 of the story, at about 3 minutes and 10 seconds, she starts showing text messages. So instead of addressing Ice Spice during the tour, she said she decided to address her after the tour was over, just to avoid any type of conflict. And she showed all the text messages. They're going up. She don't really focus on them. So you got to kind of pause to read. So basically, she texted Ice Spice everything she told, the 5-part story time, told her how she felt. And Ice Spice pretty much told her she was ungrateful. She was a bum. You got to pause to read. Pause to read. You're ungrateful. You're a bum. Good luck with your career. You're careerless. And I read the text message. I'm that nosy. I was pausing to read. I read her side and Ice Spice side. And Ice Spice was a little nasty. She was a little nasty. But there y'all go. Oh, and she did say, and then she did a part 6. In part 6, she basically was just saying that Ice Spice is soulless. She's dark. She is a terrible person. I don't know if y'all did see the video with Ice Spice when a man was praying and she was throwing up some type of demon signs. I gotta rewatch that. That's gonna be another story because this one is pretty much over. But anyway, comment.